determined that an in-person meeting was not practical with the current Delta variant of COVID-19. And as is permitted under our open meeting laws, this meeting of the Executive Council will be conducted virtually, and all votes will be counted with a roll call vote. At this time, I'd like to recognize DNR Lands and Minerals Division Director Joe Henderson to present a request to approve a negotiated state metallic mineral lease in St. Louis County to Vermillion Gold Incorporated. At this time, Mr. Henderson, you are recognized for as much time as you may consume.
Good morning. Thank you, Governor, Executive Council members. As the Governor said, before you today, you actually have two requests for negotiated state metallic mineral leases, one for Vermilion Gold, as the Governor said, and one for Kennecott Exploration Company. Your packets detail each of the requests separately. However, there's a substantial duplication in the areas such as leasing authority, outreach and information efforts, and regulatory requirements. If acceptable to the group, I'd like to cover these areas of common language first and then move to the individual leases and the unique areas of each request and recommendation.
Hearing no concerns, please go ahead.
Thank you. So areas of common. The DNR authority to issue leases and lease requirements is one area of common language between both requests. Minnesota statutes section 93.25 subdivisions 1 and 2 provide as follows. Subdivision 1, the commissioner may issue leases to prospect for, mine, and remove minerals other than iron ore upon any lands owned by the state, including trust fund lands, lands forfeited for non-payment of taxes, whether held in trust or otherwise, and lands otherwise acquired, and the beds of waters belonging to the state. Subdivision 2 states all leases for non-ferrous metallic mineral mining or petroleum must be approved by the Executive Council. The rents, royalties, terms, conditions, and covenants of all such leases shall be fixed by the commissioner according to the rules adopted by the commissioner. But no lease shall be for longer than a term of 50 years, and all rents, royalties, terms, conditions, and covenants shall be fully set forth in each lease issued. No lease shall be canceled by the state for failure to meet production requirements prior to the 36th year of lease, and rents and royalties shall be credited to the funds as provided in section 93.22. The rules governing the issuance of state metallic mineral leases, Minnesota Rules Parts 6125-0100 to 0700, provide that the Commissioner of Natural Resources, with the approval of the Executive Council, may issue a negotiated lease to qualified applicants under certain specified circumstances. In each of the lease requests that are before you today, the applicant holds state metallic mineral leases or private metallic mineral leases within close proximity to the requested lease, and each request does meet at least one of the circumstances specified in Rule 6125.0600. A second area of common language is the process steps the DNR took prior to bringing the proposed leases to the Executive Council. For each of these leases, the DNR conducted a land use screening and internal review, including State Historic Preservation Office review of the proposed leases. Land screening screens out excluded areas such as state scientific and natural areas, fens, natural parks, state wildernesses, things like that, right? We solicited comments from the DNR regional staff about areas requested for lease, including asking regional staff for recommendations about local associations, such as lake owners associations, that should be notified of the proposed lease amendment. We contacted the private surface owners of parcels with state-owned and severed minerals. We contacted the private surface owners who live within a quarter mile of the area proposed for lease. We notified Minnesota tribes, the 1854 Treaty Authority, Minnesota Chippewa tribes, and the Great Lakes Indian Fish and Wildlife Commission. And we met with tribal technical staff multiple times. We notified affected local units of government. We published information about the area and requested for lease on the DNR's website, along with an interactive map. We sent notices to all DNR GovDelivery subscribers who signed up to receive non-ferrous metallic mineral leasing information on a DNR website. We issued a statewide press release. We accepted public input for a period of 30 days from the publication of the DNR's website and issuance of the notice of the Gov delivery. We published the final area to be recommended for lease and notice of the October 29th, 2021 State Executive Council meeting on the DNR website. The last area of common language that I'd like to discuss is the regulatory requirements. So state leases are required to comply with all applicable regulatory laws. There's an extensive body of law which regulates each stage of exploration and mining on any land in the state, not just state-owned land. For example, exploration by drilling is regulated by the exploratory borings law. The law requires explorers to be licensed by the Department of Health, to register with the DNR, and establishes standards for sealing drill holes. The DNR inspects all drill sites. If a mineable deposit is discovered, the lessee would need to prepare a mine plan, environmental impact statement, and obtain as many as 20 permits and/or approvals before mining could ever occur. The DNR and the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency have major permitting authority associated with mining. Local units of governments may also regulate mining operations through land use and zoning laws. So with that understanding of some areas where these requests are virtually identical, I'd now move to item A in your packet to talk about the specifics of the Vermilion Gold request. The Department of Natural Resources is recommending that the State Executive Council approve the issuance of 3 negotiated state metallic mineral leases to Vermilion Gold, Inc., a Minnesota corporation. The proposed leases cover 865.56 acres in St. Louis County. The lands proposed for lease are located north and west of the city of Gilbert. The location of the proposed lease areas and the location of other state metallic mineral leases held under lease by Vermilion Gold in the immediate area are shown on the map in your packet marked Exhibit AI. This map is also on the DNR website. On the map, you can see the active Vermilion Gold metallic mineral leases in yellow and the proposed metallic mineral leases in sections 11, 12, and 21 in orange. Vermilion Gold currently holds 14 state metallic mineral leases with 8 leases in St. Louis County and 6 leases in Itasca County. Vermilion Gold has actively explored on these existing leases, including doing some soil and geologic sampling, some geophysical surveys, and some drilling. The proposed state metallic mineral leases contain terms prescribed by Minnesota Rules Part 6125.0700, along with certain additional terms. A copy of the proposed lease for Section 12 is attached as Exhibit AII in your packet. The basic terms of state lease include rental rates that increase with the passage of time, a base royalty rate that increases with the value of the ore, the requirement to submit reports and other data, the requirement to submit exploration plans, and the requirement to comply with all applicable laws. The revenue distribution from these proposed leases would be as follows. The proposed leases for Vermilion Gold cover 80 acres of school trust lands and minerals and 785.56 acres of lands and minerals that have been forfeited for non-payment of taxes or are non-registered severed minerals. Non-registered severed minerals are severed minerals interests where the last owner of record has failed to comply with the registration and tax provisions of the severed minerals law. Revenue from these leases covering these minerals is distributed in the same manner as revenue from tax forfeited lands. Minnesota statute section 9322 sub 1 provides that 80% of the revenue from mineral leasing of tax forfeited lands and minerals is returned to the county, with the revenue distributed 4/9 to the school district, 3/9 to the county, and 2/9 to the township or city in which the leased lands are located. The remaining 20% of the revenue is distributed to the minerals management account. 80% of the revenue from the leases covering the 80 acres, this is the school trust land, and minerals, is distributed to the permanent school fund, from which the annual net interest and dividends are distributed to school districts throughout the state. 20% of the revenue is then distributed to the minerals management account. So in conclusion, It's the opinion of the DNR that Vermilion Gold is eligible to be issued these negotiated metallic mineral leases due to their proximity to other mineral interests held by the company. It is also the opinion of the DNR that the offer is fair and reasonable, and that the acceptance and issuance of the negotiated state metallic mineral leases under the terms set forth in the report and the attached proposed lease given to each executive council member would be in the best interest of the state. I will now pause for questions or comments on Vermilion Gold's request.
Thank you, Director Henderson. I would note for our viewers that the entire Executive Council is present. Lieutenant Governor Flanagan is off camera, but is on audio-wise. At this time, are there any questions from the Executive Council for Director Henderson? Hearing none, we have requests from 4 concerned individuals who will provide testimony on this topic. Our Executive Council speaker policy states we'll generally allow 5 minutes per topic. I would just ask the presenters to just use your good judgment on this. We want to make sure everyone's heard as well as possible. Just keep it as tight as you can, but please get your point across. With that, I would turn to Mr. Aaron Clems, the Minnesota Center for Environmental Advocacy, to present testimony. Mr. Clems, you are recognized.
Good morning, Governor Walz, members of the Executive Council. Can folks hear me? Great. As I said, my name is Aaron Clems. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer of the Minnesota Center for Environmental Advocacy, or MCEA. MCEA is a nonprofit organization with nearly 50 years of experience using law and science to defend Minnesota's environment and the health of its people. My testimony today is to update the Council on improvements to the public notice process negotiated between DNR, the Non-Ferrous Mining Industry Association Mining Minnesota, Vermilion Gold, MCEA, and landowners near a previous mineral lease near Bear Lake in Itasca County. To be clear, I'm not testifying against or in favor of the specific leases that you're considering today, but rather just updating you on what I consider to be significant improvements in the notification process. When I last testified in front of the Council in February of 2020, I raised concerns about the notification process for negotiated mineral leases, the type that you are considering today, leases requested by companies outside of the lease auction process. A group of landowners near Bear Lake in Itasca County were surprised to learn that leases near their property had been proposed and then pushed for improvements to the public notification process. After my testimony, I was contacted by Joe Henderson, Lands and Minerals Division Director at DNR, inviting me and the Bear Lake landowners who were concerned to participate in the stakeholder process to work on negotiated improvements to that notification process. And I'm glad to report that this discussion, which took place over a year during COVID, which is a challenge in and of itself, was fruitful and resulted in concrete improvements to ensure that nearby residents and people across Minnesota are aware when negotiated mineral leases are being considered by the DNR. And you just heard a number of those changes implemented for these specific leases that you're considering today in Joe Henderson's testimony. It's rare that the DNR, the mining industry, local landowners, and an environmental advocacy group can reach agreement on anything. I'll just say that. But this group came to consensus around the following improvements: sending a statewide press release of announcing proposed negotiated leases, sending mailed notice to landowners within 1/4 mile of proposed leases, consulting with on-the-ground DNR employees and units to determine groups that should be contacted about proposed leases, and the need for an educational campaign to encourage lake associations and other groups of people to subscribe to the mineral leasing email list and be connected to the web resources provided on negotiated leases. While the Bear Lake landowners and I would probably have preferred a broader radius for those mailed notices, I recognize that the cost of mailed notices increases quickly as the radius increases. And in the limited experience implementing these changes for these leases, it's really clear that visibility and public awareness of this process is improving, and that awareness is increased. So I'm particularly thankful that the DNR has agreed to cover the additional costs associated with this expanded notification for a period of time, and that Mining Minnesota has agreed to support legislation that would allow the DNR to bill a proposed lessee for these additional costs for notification in the future. While that legislation did not advance last session, we hope to work with DNR and Mining Minnesota to get it across the finish line in 2022. Governor Walz and Executive Council members, the work of safeguarding Minnesota's clean water and natural resources is never easy, and it often seems insurmountable to find consensus on an agreement on these issues. While this improved notification process is not a panacea, and it represents a small area of agreement within a contentious broader debate, It really gives me hope for the future that we could reach an agreement like this on notification. So thank you for listening. Thank you for all the collaborators in the stakeholder process for their openness and willingness to listen, to work together. And I'm happy to answer any questions you or the council may have, and thank you for your kind attention.
Well, thank you, Mr. Clems. Thank you for coming and providing the feedback. And also thank you for partnering with us to make us more responsive to the citizens that we represent. And it's gratifying for me to hear this. Any questions of Mr. Clems by the Executive Council? Secretary Simon, you are recognized.
Thank you, Governor. And Mr. Clems, thanks. I just wanted to chime in as well and say thank you, because I remember you expressing those concerns, and I want to thank the DNR for reacting to them. And sometimes it takes folks outside of government to make us be better. And I think you've done that. So I want to thank you and MCEA. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hearing no further questions, I'll turn to our next speaker, Mr. Frank Angaro of Mining, Minnesota. You may present your testimony at this time, Mr. Angaro.
Good morning, Governor, members of the Executive Council. My name is Frank Angaro. Can you hear me okay? Great, thank you. I am Executive Director of Mining Minnesota, and we represent the non-ferrous mining industry in the state of Minnesota. Both companies with negotiated lease requests in front of you today are members of our organizations, and obviously we encourage you to support and pass their negotiated leases. But I also, like Mr. Clems, was here today to speak about the process. Over the decades, we have seen the involvement in mineral lease sales of a pretty robust notification, public input, and process that provides some certainty for all parties by the time any lease sale gets in front of you as the Executive Council for approval. That just was not the case with negotiated leases. And when Mr. Clems testified a couple years back about the notification concerns on negotiated leases, I went up to him and said, we can work with that. And through that, the DNR put together this negotiated lease working group. Mr. Clems outlined the different parties that were part of that. And similar to his comments, pleasantly surprised that we could all come to an understanding of the importance of providing better public information, knowledge, and some certainty of the process, so that there is a little bit more discussion and ability for folks to engage prior to a negotiated lease getting in front of you as an Executive Council. Similarly, we're an equal opportunity critic of agencies when they don't perform the way we think they should. And we want to give credit to the DNR today for spearheading this group and working with all of the parties to get to this point of agreement. And similarly, we helped draft language last year to allow the DNR to ask for reimbursement. It's a reasonable amount. It's not unlike what other states do. And it's something that industry would be comfortable with, a small reimbursement to the agency to cover the cost of this notification. And we hope to work together again in 2022 to see if we can advance that to provide a little help for the agency. With that, Governor and Executive Council members, the extent of my testimony. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Angaro, and thank you, Mining Minnesota. This is a good day. We over the last 18 months, we haven't seen a lot of these, but I really am grateful for the goodwill effort that was made here to make sure that that the public was informed. And what you and MCEA did together, working with DNR, improves the process. And we all know these can be contentious issues. There can be very hard lines on this, but the process is what needs to be trusted by the public on how we do this. And the work that you did to make this happen, we're grateful for. So thank you for that. Any questions or comments from the Executive Council for Mr. Angaro? Hearing none, I want to thank you for the input. At this time, I'd like to recognize Kate Lehman of Vermilion Gold to present testimony to the Executive Council. Ms. Lehman, you're recognized.
thank you very much, and I apologize for not being able to be seen. I got thwarted by Microsoft Teams when I tried to sign on, so doesn't happen very often, but it did today. I'd like to echo the comments of Frank and Aaron. It was an interesting process to be part of discussions and coming up with solutions about the notifications, and I do appreciate the opportunity to have been involved in that, and happy with the outcome and glad we were able to work together. Hopefully we'll continue to do that. I am, as the president of Vermilion Gold, and I thought I would just take a few minutes to give you a little background on what we've been doing. We are a privately held Minnesota company that's been in operation since 2006. We are exploring for gold in the Vermilion greenstone belts of northern Minnesota. And the reason for this interest is that there's similar geology just north of the border that hosts some of the world's largest producers of orogenic gold. And orogenic gold deposits, this refers to a type of hydrothermal mineral deposit. And orogenic gold deposits account for most of the gold that's produced worldwide. So since geology doesn't stop at the border, and we feel that northern Minnesota has been underexplored for gold, that's why our mission is to do exploration in this area. Historically, there was a brief gold rush and a couple of small gold mines in the 1860s, but that was overshadowed by the development of iron ore mining, just a small industry there. In the 1980s, there was a slight surge of interest in gold exploration, and both the state of Minnesota and private companies did exploratory work in various locations, some of which are now Vermilion's target areas. And over the past 15 years, Vermilion has had land positions in 7 different target areas and conducted various exploratory activities. We now have positions in 3 of these, Linden Grove near Cook, Minnesota, Lost Lake near Big Fork, and the Virginia Horn located near Virginia. And some of you may recall that we requested and were granted negotiated leases in the Lost Lake area back in February of 2020, which feels like, of course, a million years ago now. But just over a year ago, we entered into a joint venture earn-in agreement with a mid-tier Canadian gold producer named Centerra Gold. And they have assisted us in evaluating the targets very systematically, especially Lost Lake and Virginia Horn. And the investment that's being made by Centerra has made actually for a very busy year despite the pandemic. We have, over the past year, conducted geophysical surveys, both airborne and ground magnetic, in both target areas. We've done geochemical studies of extensive soil and rock samples. We've drilled and sampled glacial till and bedrock in the Lost Lake area. And we'll be starting a small core, diamond core drilling program on existing leases in the Virginia Horn area starting on Monday. Altogether, we have spent nearly $1 million in the past year alone, about 75% of which actually goes to local vendors and contractors. The Virginia Horn, which is the location of the leases that we are requesting today, is an area that's located between the towns of Virginia and Gilbert. And this is an area that's known, of course, taconite and iron ore mining for many, many years, probably about 150, I think. It has excellent infrastructure and services available. Previous exploration efforts have shown visible gold in core samples, and various geological structures in the area are very interesting to our geologists. So we'd like to expand the area we have under lease so that we can follow the structures along a fault line that runs northeast from our existing leases. I think it's also worth saying that leasing does not guarantee exploration will happen, but if it does, exploration activities have negligible, if any, impact on areas being explored. We reclaim and restore drill sites according to standards set by the DNR, which inspects them. We use existing roads and trails whenever possible. And much activity, such as the survey work and sampling, simply leaves no trace at all. And I will reiterate something that Commissioner Henderson mentioned. I'd like that leasing and exploration does not mean there will be mining. It isn't until a deposit is actually located and can be evaluated that mining is even a consideration. So I'd be very happy to answer any questions about the exploration process or about Vermilion's history and work. And if you're interested in visiting a drill site, we would be happy to host you at one of our locations in the next couple of weeks. And we'll be actually sending out invitations to an open drill pad here coming up sometime in the next few weeks. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Lehman. At this time, any questions or comments from the Executive Council? Hearing none, I will now recognize our final speaker on this lease discussion, Mr. Jason Meyer of the St. Louis County Land and Mineral Department. You are now recognized to present.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Executive Council. My name is Jason Meyer. I'm the Deputy Land and Minerals Director with the St. Louis County Land and Minerals Department. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today here in my office in Duluth. A sunny day today, so a good brisk day though. But I'm speaking in support of the state metallic minerals leases in St. Louis County to Vermilion Gold being considered by the council. The St. Louis County Land and Minerals Department manages almost 900,000 acres of state tax forfeited trust land in St. Louis County. These lands are held and managed by the county in trust for the taxing districts. The department is dedicated and has statutory requirement to manage our tax forfeited trust lands for the economic, social, and ecological benefit of the people and taxing district of St. Louis County. St. Louis County has an established minerals program to acknowledge and advocate for the importance of minerals, both iron ore and non-ferrous, to the state tax forfeited trust and the communities of our county. The county recognizes that Northeast Minnesota hosts many world-class deposits that are increasingly important to support green energy initiatives, electrification of our transportation system, and more. The ability to better understand these deposits provides for the opportunity to reduce our reliance on imported minerals for our national defense and technology needs. The Land and Minerals Department is very supportive of the DNR's non-ferrous metallic minerals lease sales and specifically the negotiated leases to Vermilion Gold being considered by the council today. One of the department's objectives for its minerals program, which is in line with its fiduciary responsibilities, is to optimize revenue generating activities from tax forfeited land and mineral resources. Mineral leasing is an important revenue source, and the department encourages mineral leasing on tax forfeited land. I also want to mention that mineral leasing is compatible with the department's other resource management activities, including forest management, protection of soil and water quality, and public recreation. The Vermilion Gold lease request would put an additional 785 acres of tax forfeited minerals under lease. And I do want to emphasize the point that Joe had made earlier. 80% of the revenue from mineral leasing of tax forfeited lands and minerals is returned to the county, with the revenue distributed by sending 4/9 to the school district, 3/9 to the county, and 2/9 to the township or city in which the leased lands are located, with the remaining 20% of the revenue distributed to the Minnesota DNR minerals management account. The mineral leasing program is an important revenue stream to the county, with these funds used to offset tax levy. In 2020, the county's 3/9 share amounted to just under $174,000 in mineral leasing and rents. As the department continues to learn more about exploration activities, it helps us to make more informed land use decisions that will better position future generations to leverage the mineral wealth in our region. Vermilion Gold has a strong reputation with our department, keeping keeping open lines of communication and respecting the public lands that they are operating on. Earlier this year, they presented our entire Land and Minerals Department a little presentation on gold potential, along with the historical exploration and planned future areas of interest. And this information makes us better stewards of the land. I do want to take this opportunity to mention also to the council that the staff from the DNR Lands and Minerals, they do a great job managing the mineral estate for the tax forfeit trust and informing our department about exploration activities in St. Louis County. They provide mineral exploration plans for our review and approval, and that addresses site-specific activities, including access, site impacts, and site restoration. So just in closing, leasing of tax forfeit lands for mineral exploration is an important component of our minerals program and helps us to fulfill our mission to the state tax forfeited trust and the taxing districts we serve. St. Louis County is very supportive of the DNR's Division of Land and Minerals staff and its efforts to offer non-ferrous mineral leases on tax forfeited lands within the county. We encourage the council to approve state metallic mineral leases in St. Louis County to Vermilion Gold. And with that, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you today.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer, for your testimony and input. Any questions from the Executive Council before I call for a motion to vote? Hearing none, I would once again reiterate my thanks to everyone involved in improving this public notice process. I believe you've created a new best practice, a gold standard, if you will, on how this should be done. And that serves the public well. At a time when trust in process and institutions is at a low, this hard work that was done on many fronts by many interested parties should be noted, and it truly is. With that, I would call for a motion to approve the request.
So moved.
I now ask each member to state their vote. Secretary of State Simon, how do you vote?
Aye.
Lieutenant Governor Flanagan?
Aye.
Attorney General Ellison?
Vote aye.
Auditor Blaha?
Aye.
I, Governor Walz, vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries. The request is approved. I would now once again recognize DNR Lands and Minerals Division Director Joe Henderson to present specifics around an amendment of a state metallic mineral lease in Aiken County to Kennecott Exploration Company. Director Henderson, you're recognized for as much time as you may consume.
Thank you, Governor. So I'll now move to item B in your packets. The Department of Natural Resources is recommending that the State Executive Council approve an amendment to a state metallic mineral lease to Kennecott Exploration Company. The proposed amendment covers 40 acres in Aiken County. The lands proposed to be added to the lease are located north of the city of Tamarack. The location of the proposed lands add to State Metallics Mineral Lease number MLMN 20029, and the location of other state metallic mineral leases held under lease by Kennecott in the immediate area shown on the map in your packet marked Exhibit BI. This map is also available on the DNR website. On the map, you can see the Kennecott active metallic mineral leases in yellow and the proposed metallic mineral lease to be amended into the existing Kennecott lease. This is in section 21. It's a little orange spot in orange. Kennecott currently holds 69 state metallic mineral leases located in Aiken and Carleton counties. Kennecott and its operating partner, Talon Nickel USA, have actively explored these existing leases, including Talon recently conducting exploration of soil samples, geologic sampling, and rotosonic drilling. The DNR recommends that this state mineral interest be placed under lease to Kennecott by an amendment to the existing lease. The mineral interest will be subject to the same conditions, including rentals, royalty rates, and other state mineral interests as the other state mineral interests already held under lease. A copy of the proposed lease amendment is attached in your packet as Exhibit BII. The basic terms of the state lease include rental rates that increase with the passage of time, a base royalty rate that increases with the value of the ore, the requirement to submit reports and other data, the requirement to submit exploration plans, and the requirement to comply with all applicable laws. The revenue distribution from this lease amendment would be as follows. The proposed lease amendment covers 40 acres of lands and minerals which are non-registered severed minerals. The revenue from leases covering these minerals, as you recall, is described in the distributed in the same manner as revenue from the tax forfeit lands. It provides that 80% of the revenue from the mineral lease at the tax forfeited lands is returned to the county, and the revenue, as you've heard today more than once, is then distributed 4/9 to the school district, 3/9 to the county, and 2/9 to the township or city in which the lease lands are located. The remaining 20% of the revenue is distributed to the minerals management account. So in conclusion, it's the opinion of the DNR that Kennecott Exploration Company is eligible to be issued this negotiated metallic mineral lease amendment due to other mineral interests held by the state in the same government section as this. It is also the opinion of the DNR that acceptance and issuance of this negotiated state metallic mineral lease amendment under the terms set forth in the report and the attached proposed leasing amendment given to each executive council member would be in the best interest of the state. Thank you for your attention today. I'll now stand for questions.
Thank you once again, Director Henderson. At this time, any questions or comments from the Executive Council? Hearing none, we have received a request for testimony from two individuals with Talon Metals Corporation. I would ask at this time to recognize Jessica Johnson and Todd Martin. You are recognized for 5 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you, Governor. Can everyone hear me okay? Thanks. So my name is Jessica Johnson, and I am the Community Outreach and Government Relations Manager for Talon Metals. Just wanted to be here today to represent Talon and the Tamarack Nickel Project, and also be available for the council to answer any questions you may have in terms of community consultation or any questions on our open door policy that we have. But I will defer to Todd for statements. Thank you.
Mr. Martin, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Governor, and likewise with Jessica. I've got a statement for the record, but conscious of time, if members have questions, we're happy to answer them. Eric Best with the Kennecott Exploration Company is also available to answer any questions about the amendments that are before you. But I'm conscious of time and don't want to take up any more time of the committee than is necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Ms. Johnson, any questions from the Executive Council of either of our testifiers? Hearing none, I would now call for a motion to approve the request.
So moved.
I would now ask each member to state their vote. Attorney General Ellison, how do you vote?
Aye.
Lieutenant Governor Flanagan?
Aye.
Secretary of State Simon?
Aye.
Auditor Blaha?
Aye.
I, Governor Walz, vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries. The request is approved. At this time, I would welcome any final comments from the Executive Council before I ask for a motion to adjourn. Hearing none, I would call for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
I now ask each member to state their vote. Lieutenant Governor Flanagan?
Aye.
Attorney General Ellison?
Aye.
Auditor Blaha?
Aye.
Secretary of State Simon?
Aye.
And I, Governor Walz, vote in favor of the motion. This meeting of the Executive Council is now adjourned. Have